Think back to a time in your life that was incredibly hard, a time when you felt tested by the world. Now, as you think back on that time, who are the faces or the names of people who were there to help you? It doesn't have to be a close friend or a relative. It could be some faceless avatar you met on the internet. It doesn't even have to be somebody real or alive. I know many people who have been helped by characters from books or by long-dead philosophers. In my own case, I was tested about 15 years ago, and when I think back to that time, there are two names who jump out at me. There's Tom and Abby. Now, I'm still friends with Tom and Abby, and I've told them this many times, but I've always viewed their friendship during that time as a kind of nurturing. It was an incubation. They were the port I needed when the world outside became stormy and cold. Now, I have no doubt that most people in this room have their own version of Tom and Abby, and as I carry on talking today, I want you to hold those names, those faces, and those people in your head. Because those are what the Epicureans would call your true friends, and without them, a life cannot be full and happy. The Epicureans were an ancient Greek school who were active in the generation or so after Aristotle, and they were trying to find the recipe for this lasting existential happiness that the Greeks called eudaimonia. And the Epicurean answer to the question, what makes a person happy, is relatively simple. They thought that happiness means enjoying as much pleasure as you can while being free from pain and being free from anxiety. And this is why the word Epicurean has come to be associated with pleasure. Now, that's the simple answer. But in philosophy, if you ever see a simple answer, there's normally a more complicated one lurking inside, and the same is true here. Because when the Epicureans are talking about pleasure, they don't mean a boozy night out with some friends, or a gourmet steak in a restaurant, or even a warm bath and a glass of wine. Those are very nice. And I'm sure most people in this room enjoy eating and drinking and partying and traveling, whatever. But those are what the Epicureans would call dynamic pleasures. They will change depending upon your moods and your whims. They are here today, gone tomorrow. So when you finish eating that slice of pizza, you're looking for the next thing to do. And when the song stops playing, you're waiting for the next one to come on. There is an element of dissatisfaction wired into these kind of pleasures. They're like drinking salted water. You can drink and drink and drink, but you will always want more. And so the Epicureans didn't say that we should stop enjoying these pleasures, but we should definitely be careful. And we shouldn't confuse them for what real happiness means. And for that, they used the term static pleasure. Now, when I describe static pleasure, I usually use the word content. But the problem is the word content is such a boring word. It's beige. It's an emotional blancmange. But static pleasure is the feeling of calm you get when all of your basic emotional and physical needs have been met. It's that peace of mind you get when you can want for nothing more. It's sitting on the sofa and somebody says, "Can I get you anything?" And you say, "No, I think I'm okay." So the Epicureans were not thrill seekers, they were comfort seekers. Now, many of you might be wondering what on earth any of this has to do with friendship. Well, a key part of this calm, tranquil kind of happiness is a mental one. Because you can be as comfortable or as warm as you like, but if you are worried and you are anxious, then you will not be happy. And so a key question then becomes, how can I not be anxious? And to that, the Epicureans devoted an entire philosophy known as the four-part cure. It involves not obsessing about death or worrying about any temporary pains. But one of the surest ingredients to prevent anxiety is friendship. Epicurus once wrote that of all of the things which wisdom provides to make us entirely happy, much the greatest is friendship. Now, there are many dynamic pleasures we get from our friends. We go to weddings, we go to the cinema, and we get drunk with our friends. We go hiking and running, and we play football with our friends. And these dynamic pleasures are important both to our well-being and to the friendships themselves, but they are not the most important thing. The Epicurean friend is one who will be there for you no matter what. And they will gift you the static pleasure that comes in knowing you have somebody to rely on. Because life and its challenges become more manageable when you know you have somebody to pick you up and somebody to take you in. Epicurus said, "It is not so much our friends' help that helps us as the confidence in their help." Because life is not a flat line, it is a graph with ups and downs. The world can spin so quickly, you will feel dizzy and lost. The seas in the morning may be calm and quite lovely, but by dinner time they are choppy and terrifying. And so it's important to know that you have a port to which you can sail when the storms come in. It's important to know that you have a sofa to sleep on and a table to eat at no matter what. So what can we take away from Epicurus and the Epicurean ideal of friendship? Well, I would suggest that there are two things. The first is that we all need to examine our friendships closely. At the start, I asked you to imagine some distant time in your life which was hard and who was there to help you then. If I ask you to imagine now some future hard time, who do you think would be there to help you then? Because those are your Epicurean friends and you need to pull them in and you need to appreciate them. Now, the second thing is something that we don't perhaps consider enough these days, and that's the question, how can I be the best friend I can possibly be to other people? And this is where I risk saying something slightly controversial here, because you have to pick and choose your friends. You have to be selective. The Epicureans used to live in these community gardens known as hokapos, and they were almost exclusively by invitation only. And when you have any kind of selection, you will also have an exclusion. So too with friendship. Aristotle once said that a friend to all is a friend to none. And that is because you cannot be a friend in the Epicurean sense to dozens or 100 people. Friendship is hard. It's time-consuming and it will sap your resources. I have no doubt that I was a burden to Tom and Abby. I was an antisocial squatter who behaved oddly and contributed next to nothing. And yet they gave me their home, they gave me their time, and most importantly of all, they gave me their attention. Now, the word attention means something different to philosophers than to everybody else, because when you attend to somebody, you don't just listen to what they say or see what they do, but you have to redirect your entire being towards them. You have to hear what remains unsaid and to see the truth behind their words. But most importantly of all, you have to ask the questions, what are you going through? In what ways are you suffering? How is life hard? Because if you don't have the answers to those questions, then you cannot offer any help. And if you can't offer any help, then you cannot be an Epicurean friend. So the Epicureans are saying three things. First, they are saying that happiness means enjoying as much of this static pleasure as you possibly can while being free from pain and being free from anxiety. The second thing they are saying is that if you want to be free from anxiety, then you have to have a friend that you know you can rely on. And the third thing they are saying is that if you want to seek your own happiness, then you should find and you should nurture these kind of friendships above anything else. Now, not so long ago, I used to be a teacher, and so I have this pathological urge to set homework assignments. Don't worry, I won't get you to write it down, but I do expect it to be done by Monday, please. I would like you to please spend some time messaging your Epicurean friends. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be pretentious or anything epic, but just let them know that you would be there for them if anything happened, anything at all. And let them know that you are grateful for their being there for you as well. Because the seas will not stay calm forever, and the wind will not stay still forever. But when the storms come in, and surely they will eventually, it's important to know that you have a port to which to sail, and a port in which you can rest. And there is no better port than that of a good friend. Thank you.